Hi there, in a new room today. So this is a Q&A, a live Q&A, all about how to help you avoid making an expensive mistake. I have lots of clients who come to me and say, got loads of ideas, but we're not sure if it's possible, and we just want to make sure that we don't make an expensive mistake that we're going to regret later. Can you help us to check our ideas, maybe come up with some other ideas that we haven't thought about, and see if what we would like to do is possible. So this is the sort of thing that I help my clients with all the time. I am Jane, I'm a chartered architect. I am the founding director of iArchitect, and I specialise in helping homeowners to make their homes more enjoyable places to live. I work especially with homeowners of property built before 1940 who are interested in protecting the planet, so I apply a lot of eco-design principles to my work. So, is this something that you're worried about for your home project? You'd like to do something, but you're not sure what to do, and what you most of all don't want to do is make a big expensive mistake that you're going to regret later. So here are I've got 10 tips for you today on things that you can do to help you avoid making that expensive mistake. Please, if you've got any comments, you're watching live, please pop comments down below and I'll respond to those. And if you're watching the replay, put #replay. And any questions or comments, again, pop them down below and I will come back to them and answer them as best I can, either in comments or I may pick them up later and dedicate another live focused on your question. So first of all, do your analysis. I have a lot of exercises that I have available that I sometimes use different ones depending on what's appropriate with my client. But the main one and the most important one is just literally walk around every single space in your home and say, what do I like about it? What do I not like about it? What's working and what's not working? And literally do a kind of a pros and a cons column. Each space, name the space, what's good about it, what's bad about it. And do that for every single space. And so you're analysing the spaces that you've got in your home as they are now, and then you can start to see which spaces are really working for you and which really aren't working for you, and then you can start to tackle the ones that are not working for you and leave well alone for the ones that are working really well for you. You don't necessarily have to change those at all. So that's the first thing. The second thing is make big picture decisions. A lot of clients come to me and they're really focusing in on very fine detail. So perhaps they want a particular kind of kitchen cupboard, or I'm trying to think of some detailed things. There are lots of little details that people kind of come to me and say, really want to make sure that we've got this. And that is a kind of, okay, that's an interesting thing to think about. But first of all, think about, what are you trying to achieve with this? Are you trying to create more space? Yes, okay, great. Well then, what are you trying to create more space for? Why are you trying to create that space? So are you trying to create that space because you need more space to be able to entertain? Perhaps you like to have dinner parties, you want to be able to have a dining table, you want to have all your friends to be able to sit around your dining table so you can really enjoy a meal together, and you can enjoy hosting and entertaining your friends with a lovely dinner. But maybe you don't have the space for that. Maybe you don't even have enough space to have a dining table. So that's the bigger picture sort of thing. You need more space, and you need more space to be able to have a dining table and to be able to fit so many people. But then beyond that, you don't need to start worrying right at the initial stages of whether it's a circular dining table, whether what other things you want to have in that room. You just need some bigger picture ideas about what it is that you're trying to achieve and how that's going to affect your life. So perhaps sort of carry on with the dining room option. A lot of people don't spend much time sitting and eating at a dining table, but some people do really love to do that, but maybe they don't have the space for that. So you know, if what you're feeling is your social life is suffering because you've not got the space to entertain that you really want to have, well then maybe that is actually the bigger picture, is actually you want to be able to entertain in your home, and entertaining is important to you, and that is something that you can start to get those sorts of bits of information about why you want to do what you're looking to do. So it's always really good. I did cover this in the live last week or the week before, where I was talking about why, explore why you want to do something. So a trick that some really top designers ask is the 5 whys. Ask yourself, okay, I want to be able to sit 6 people around a table or 8 people around a table so that I can have dinner parties. Well, why do you want to do that? I want to do that because that is the way that I enjoy socializing, and I want to be able to host my friends, and that will make me feel more connected to my friends. And so then you can start to get different reasons. But then you can ask yourself, well, is that the only way? Would it be better if I met them in a restaurant? Maybe there are alternatives to building enough space to have this big dining table. Maybe there are other ways to achieve your aims without doing the work to your home. I am not an architect who's looking to make you spend money on your home, and I will always look for alternative ways. It's about your home is about you and what is going to benefit and enrich your life in the most beneficial way to you. And you don't always have to spend lots of money to be able to do that. Of course, you can spend lots of money, and I wouldn't, if you want to spend lots of money and you want to have a huge dining room, maybe a banqueting hall, I'm not going to say no, don't do it if that's what you really want to do. I just think it's really good to be able to make the right decisions for you and make sure that these fundamental big picture decisions are right for you, and that they are going to then lead on to other smaller detailed decisions down the line, and you're going to end up with a project that you're not going to regret, because it's really going to be what you want, what you need, and it's going to enrich your life and make your life better. And that's what I want for my clients. So ask why it's important 5 times. The next thing I recommend is that you explore your options on paper. So you're not going to go and get a hammer and a chisel and start pulling walls down. You're going to start sketching first of all, and this is something that you can do with me. I offer home design workshops, and we'll sit down together and I will sketch the plans. They'll be to scale, and we can talk through different options, and I can help you understand what's possible and give you additional ideas, different ways of looking at your space. But exploring your options on paper is the absolute cheapest way to figure out what's possible, and then later, you then have figured out what you can do and what you want to do, what you need to do to meet your dreams, and how it can happen. So once you've got your sketches, your sketch options on paper, you can have a look at those and think. You can then go through what in architects we call a feasibility study, and that really is simply just saying, is it possible, and is it possible on several different levels, and is it beneficial on several different levels. I can maybe do another video specifically about feasibility and what that means and what you do. But basically, you want to see, in terms of costs. Is the cost of doing these different options, is it going to fit within your budget? What time scale have you got, and is the scale of the project going to fit within your time scale? It's going to be possible to build it. Also take into account things like the time it takes to get planning, the time it takes to go through building control. All of these things take time, and they can take a lot longer than you think. So allow plenty of time. Don't try to over speed things up, because that is where you end up not fully exploring your options and making snap decisions that then potentially you are more likely to regret later on. So take your time to consider things. You don't have to take forever. I have had clients who've come to me and they've been in their home maybe 20 years and they've wanted to do something for years and years and years, and they're really stuck. They've got really stuck in a sort of an indecisive state, and they just don't really know what to do, and can't decide what's best to do. And so they've been sort of frustrated in their home. And in some extreme examples, maybe they've got leaking roofs and cracked windows, and the house is very cold and damp and has all sorts of other issues that they've not been able to resolve because they've struggled to make the decisions necessary to take their project forward. You don't need to do that. You just take the bigger picture decisions and then look at exploring your options in sketch form. And then there's a few more slightly less bigger picture, a bit more detail, and I would guide you through, if you're my client, I can guide you through the different options, the different decisions that you need to make at different stages, so that we're going from the bigger picture, what do you want to do and why, and going right down to the smaller, how many sockets do you want in this room and exactly where do you want them to go. So from the extreme, big picture to the fairly small scale. So a really key big picture thing that is going to affect so much, it's going to affect exactly what you do in terms of design. It's going to affect the cost of things, the time scale of things, and that is quality. It will also affect things like the impacts that you have on the environment with your project. So quality is something that only you can decide for yourself what quality means to you, and it's worth spending a little bit of time and thinking about that question. What does quality mean to you? Discuss it with your other half, or your partner, your husband, wife, whatever you call your significant other, and have a chat about what you each feel quality is. What is good enough quality? What would be your ideal quality? What is not acceptable quality? What are those qualities? When you're thinking about eco-design, perhaps you're thinking about materials that are made locally, made from renewable resources, have low toxicity, have minimal or no petrochemicals involved. They are low carbon or carbon neutral. They're significantly made from post-consumer waste. These are all different things that you may want to consider when you're thinking about eco-design options. Also, in terms of your energy use, you may want to be looking at better than building regs for the amount of heat that you need to heat your home and how quickly your home will lose that heat. Building regs sets a reasonable standard, and it's much better now than it was, but you can go much further beyond that as well. Things like Passive House standard is much higher standard, so you can go somewhere between, and you don't necessarily have to spend huge amounts more on your project to get a higher energy rating. So some of these things, it could be worth considering. If that's important to you, That's what quality is to you. What is important to you, and what do you need? What must your project have for it to be a quality project for you? So another way that something that you can do to help make sure that you're avoiding making an expensive mistake is to do a bit less. You don't have to do everything, and you don't have to do everything all at once. So I've recently spoken with clients and they're thinking, well, we'd like to do a loft conversion and we'd like to do a single story extension. This is something that I get asked an awful lot. And the thing is, you don't have to do all of it all at once. You can do a single story extension first and then a loft conversion later, or the reverse. You could do your loft conversion first and your single story extension at another later date. So by doing less, you can focus your efforts on, and your resources, your money and your time and energy, into just that one smaller project. You choose the one after you've gone through your decision-making process and analysis. Choose the one that's going to have the best and biggest positive impact on your life and on your home. And when you then do that, you do less, but you can do that to a higher quality, a higher standard, and you'll get a better result because of that. And then you can save up your money, save up your time, save up your energy, and do another project later on. So you don't have to do everything all at once. And that was really my next point, was to look at phasing things. So in a previous life as an employed architect, going back now 10 more years, I used to do a lot of designing of high schools and extensions to high schools. And when you're working with a school environment where there's children there and it's a live school, so teachers and children are all in the school, and you need to do work to the school. So what we would often do, most of the building work that takes place on schools is done through school holidays. But when you're getting ready for a big project, sometimes you have to do what's called enabling work. So it's smaller bits of project work that will help you perhaps decamp part of the school into another part of the building so that the school can carry on operating with minimal disruption, while the bigger project happens slightly later than that. So this kind of enabling works idea is something that you can take on in your home project. So perhaps you want to completely gut and do the whole of your home, and you maybe have some young children, so you can't live in it all during that time. So you want to rent, but you can't afford to rent for the whole of the time of the project. So what you could do is you could do a smaller project to make some of your home habitable, rewire, reheat, redecorate, whatever it is that you need to do. And then so you can make part of the home habitable, and then you can move in while another part of the house is perhaps being extended, or work is being done elsewhere, and you can perhaps block it off to an extent so that it's not having as much disruption to you and making your life dusty and uncomfortable whilst the work is going on. But it's also saving you from spending your money on rent. You can put that money into your project instead. So that sort of idea of phasing and enabling works is something that you could bring into your home project. A really important thing to do to make sure you're not going to have expensive mistakes that you regret later is to have everything decided before you go on site. And not even before you go on site, have everything decided and written down on paper in drawing form, or just simply in lists. Have that all documented, and that is what your builder prices for. So have everything decided at that stage. So once your builder has given you a price, you then know that is, you've decided it all. There's not going to be any changes unless there's some unforeseen things arise on the project, which can always happen. Usually that happens below the ground, where you find you might end up having to pour in a lot more concrete underground than you really would ideally like to, and that's where you tend to find your contingency money starts to go. But that is an expensive mistake. That is just part of building. You need to consider that there may be some things that occur during the build that you're not aware of at the moment before the build starts. But everything else that you could possibly be aware of, all the decisions that you want to make, what kitchen cabinets you want, even what colour render can make a big difference, because some render colours will be from the standard range and will have no price attached to them. Some maybe you want to match to a Farrow and Ball paint colour, and that will could potentially have a premium attached to matching that colour, and that's fine. But make sure that you've got that in your documents that you're getting your builder to price on, so that later on your builder doesn't come back and say, oh well, this is not a standard price, so you've got an extra to pay here, because you shouldn't have to be paying extra. Or you don't want your builder to be coming to you and saying, what colour was it you wanted? You choose, I need to order this today. And then you've only got a few hours to make your render colour choice, and then it's rendered and you hate the colour. And that is okay. The colour of your render might not be the most important thing to you, might not be really significant, but there are loads and loads and loads of decisions that go into a building project, and the last thing you want is to be having to make snap decisions on site. Make them all before you get prices from the builder, and whilst you've got time to consider your options, so that you're not having to make those decisions within a couple of hours, but instead you've got, say, a nice relaxed weekend over a glass of wine, sat in front of the fire. You can think it through and take your time and make sure that you're confident and happy that that's the right decision that you want, instead of panicking and stressing and having to make a forced decision very quickly that you're not sure about. You don't want to be in that situation. And then finally, the very last thing is put a robust contract in place, so that you know what you've got priced is what's going to be built, and there's a contract that's in place that is not in your builder's favour. Preferably it's either balanced, or from your point of view as a homeowner, you would probably want it to be slightly more in your favour rather than the builder's favour. So that is really key. Again, that is part of my build package. I help my homeowners, clients to make sure I put the contract in place for you, and then you sign it, and then it's in your favour. It's got your best interests at heart. So those are the 10 things that you really ideally want to do to avoid any costly mistakes. If you've had some building work done and you have found that you had expensive mistakes were made and they could have been avoided, leave a comment below. It's always interesting. We always want to learn from your mistakes, so that other people don't have to go through that. So share your wisdom. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're worried about making an expense mistake, let us know in the comments below what you're worried about, and we can see if there are any ways we can help you. Okay, thank you for now. I look forward to speaking with you next Friday. Bye.